Hi there guys, welcome for another episode. Right, in the last episode I was having problems getting the cradle fitted to the engine. I've managed to solve that, but it's also created another problem that I wasn't aware of.
As I said in the last episode and the beginning of this video, I had problems getting this cradle in, and it was this part of the cradle that was the problem. This piece I could bolt up to the chassis and that wasn't a problem, but this piece did not fit. And the problem was this. Now this is what's called a two-piece sump. So you've got the bottom piece here where the pickup goes in, and then you've got the oil plug there. That's the very, very bottom piece of it. Above that there is this aluminium piece that sits on there, and the actual sump bolts onto the bottom of there. So as that piece there is fitted just there, and then the black sump pan fits at the bottom there, what was happening was this part of the engine has a long piece that comes down here that bolts to the original gearbox that should go on there, and it's a slightly strengthened piece. That gets in the way of that piece there being able to bolt into the new 5-speed gearbox here. Well, I did have a go at chopping it off. Now, as it turns out, it didn't work, so I have to get a new sump. But the problem was this part of the sump is still in the way of the cradle that goes underneath the gearbox, and part of this piece here would still be touching it. So this sump is definitely in the way. Now, there's one piece in here there, this piece of metal. It's all kind of a flat piece of metal here, and this is called a windage tray. It's not something I'd ever really, I've seen it before, but I didn't really think about what it does. But basically what it does is, as the crankshaft is turning above it, if it had oil up there and it was splashing in the oil, it would splash everywhere. And at 6,000 revs a minute, when a crank slams into the oil, it's going to cause devastating effects. So it has this windage plate in this piece of metal. Well, obviously I'm binning that one, so now I've got no windage plate. Well, the solution to this is, the first thing, I need a new sump. Now the sump I'm going to use, I've bought off of an Escort, a 1.8 Z-Tech Escort, and with that engine it has a windage tray that fits just underneath the crank here. Problem with the windage tray is that it bolts into these bolts here, these 4 bolts, one there, and then 2 on the other side. When that does that, it means that the crank, as you can probably see there, the crank is actually lower down than these bolts. So if I bolt it straight to that, the crank is going to hit the windage tray. So there are bolts that you can buy that are slightly longer, and then a distance piece that goes in there with some nuts on it to bring the windage tray down to about this level here. Now the new Z-Tech sump doesn't have any windage trays or baffle plates or anything like that, and it's quite empty. It's just like a square box basically. So there's plenty of room to go downwards. So that's not going to cause a problem. But I've had to get one of them now. Something else I didn't know about. The other part that I've also taken away, those of you that will know that there's an oil pickup pipe fitted just there. Now the oil pickup pipe for this engine is slightly longer, so it goes down to about this depth really. The problem with that is that this new sump will touch it. The pickup pipe for the 1.8 Escort is not quite as long, so it comes down to about here somewhere, and that clears the windage tray and it clears the bottom of the sump. So all those parts are now on order. When they arrive, I'll be able to fit them. It's not really a huge problem at the moment. I can still fit the engine to the car and do what I need to do without the sump and the bottom of it. All I have to do is be careful when I'm moving it around so I don't go whacking the crank around. But other than that, it's not too bad. It fits and I don't have to worry about it. So when those parts arrive, I'll be able to make sure that I get it on video for you, and you'll be able to see exactly what I'm talking about. But at the moment, I've had to buy some more parts that I didn't know about. Right, so I've just popped the engine out. It sounds quite funny to be able to do that, but it's literally
5 bolts and the engine's lying on a pallet. So now that that's out, I'll show you what I've been doing. So there you can see the engine's mounted. It is welded up there. I'm not all that super happy about that weld yet. I need to run at least another pass over it. And it is only tacked on the bottom there. So I have to do the rest of the weld all up that side. And the other thing I need to do is fill in that gap, which is quite an enormous gap really. But I want to fill that in. So I'll put a plate there, up to that point there. And then I want to make a plate that goes diagonally in and follows that edge there, so it kind of makes a diagonal plate across there. So that is pretty much what I'm going to start doing now, is filling that gap in there. What I've been out doing while I've been under here is I've been welding small bolt holes and clip holes and little small holes that are in the front of here, basically just to make this wing look a bit neater. It might be a bit nerdy, but that's the way I want it to be. This side I've done pretty much the same thing. There's a couple of holes that were there. There's one there for a rivet. There's a couple of holes that were here as well. I've welded all of them up. And for some reason, I'm not really quite sure why, but there was a hole there in the side of the suspension leg. But it's gone now, anyway. As I said in the last video, I didn't want square corners. I wanted a nice rounded shape. So I cut it all out and ground it nice and level along here. And then I put this plate along here. I used the cardboard template to make this size and then extended it slightly by about 1 centimetre on either side. I've had to cut these little triangles out here to get the metal to actually bend, but then I've bent it around the edges here. And I think that this is going to allow a little extra strength in this piece of metal here with these extra edges on the side here. So all I need to do now is finish off the welding around there, grind it all up, make it all look nice and neat, and then the engine bay is pretty much ready for paint. And the last thing I've done today is I've gone over the whole engine bay with some degreaser and got rid of all of the years, and it was years of crap that's built up on the engine bay everywhere. So the engine bay looks quite clean actually. It's got a bit of dust on there now from where I was grinding, but it does actually look a lot cleaner. Now this is going to look a lot better when it's got paint on. It's going to look like the rest of the paint here, where it's all beautiful shiny here. Some parts I have gone along with a knife and I've trimmed off the bits of sealer that were here. I don't like the sealer. I don't like this effect here where it's all lined here. I don't like that. So I will be smoothing this off all the way around here. I've started on that tunnel there, so that'll get all nice and neat. And obviously I need to sort out where I think there's been some battery acid sprayed on the inside of the car somewhere. So that needs sorting out as well. I just want to show you one thing here. I did try and sand part of the engine bay, and using 120 grit paper, I went through the paint. It is incredibly thin, the paint here. I didn't even realise how thin it was. It's amazing that these cars don't fall apart more than what they actually do. I know they fall apart more in England than what they do here in Sweden, but I didn't realise there was so little paint there. There's almost nothing in there. So this is going to make a massive difference by painting this engine bay. Right, that's all there is from me today. In the next episode, I'm going to continue prepping the engine bay ready for paint, and hopefully I can get that in paint in the next probably couple of weeks or so, hopefully. Obviously, you'll be with me all the steps of it and you'll see how it goes. But right now, I'm going to probably carry on with a bit of rust eater around the bare metal and then sanding off the inside of the engine bay. So yeah, press that subscribe button. We'll see you in the next episode. Thanks a lot and bye bye.